Hi, I'm Shan, and I think this is episode 9 of a series that I'm doing, The Dream of the Cosmos, The Quest for the Soul. I'm documenting this amazing book by Anne Baring through song. I'm writing an album about it, and I've moved on to part 3, which is the Disassociated Psyche. It has 4 chapters in it, and basically I read the 4 chapters. I'll give you a brief synopsis, very brief, but there was a lot in it. I got heartbroken over and over and over again. Such is life, I feel. So really what it talks about is the move from the lunar era, which I have talked about in previous videos, of the shamanic kind of way of being in touch with the land and being interconnected with everything, the cosmos, the animals, the land, everything working together, belief that everything is ensouled and everything is in the being and body of God, including us, including animals, including nature, everything. So around 2000 BC, the move from that lunar era went into the solar era, and the solar era. So in the lunar era, the moon was worshipped, and it was a very cyclical way of birth, death, rebirth, that kind of belief system. But then the solar era, which is all to do with the sun and light, it was very linear. So we moved from the cyclical to the linear, which is, it's all ones and zeros at the end of the day, isn't it? And so the emphasis moved onto the hero and the conquest, conquest and the individual, and rather than like everybody being interconnected, and also the battle between light and darkness, the battle of good and evil, the battle of light and darkness. And of course, women were associated with darkness and nature and animal instincts, you better believe it. And so women were kind of seen as not as important, seen as something to be conquered, to be controlled, just like nature was seen as something to be conquered and controlled. And we saw all these like quote unquote heroes who went out and just tried to get as much land, as much people believing in what they believed in as possible through any means. So the myths, all these myths of the man slaying the dragon or slaying the gorgon or slaying, whatever dark beast, it all represented the dominion of man over the darkness, nature, women, all that kind of stuff. And it gave permission to use violence as this way of striving for the light. It gave permission for holy wars and for all those terrible, the Inquisition and the witch trials. Don't get me started on the witch trials. I need to do a whole other deep dive into the witch trials. But that's what it gave permission. This whole battle between the light and darkness gave permission for men to basically be incredibly violent and in their ways of forcing their ways upon everything. And it just started off this whole kind of conquest era where people were coming down and enslaved, like I think it was the Kurgans coming down from the Russian steppes. They bought the war chariot, they bought the sky gods, they were enslaving people, they were using terrible violence, they were killing people, beheading people, raping people, taking children, all this kind of stuff. It was incredibly violent time. And then we moved on to when the written word came in. And that's a really, really interesting one, because the written word was seen as a more left brain thing. And before that, you could say that the right brain was dominant, especially through the shamanic era. But then the written word came in and it gave rise to the left brain, which the left brain is all about order and domination. And so when the written word came in, and we can take it to the the scriptures, the Old Testament. And the Old Testament, like before, the shamanic era was passed on through word of mouth, but now they had this written word that had to be obeyed. And so we had the Old Testament. We had, okay, let me read this. This is a line from book Sirach in the Old Testament. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Cheers for that. And then on and on and on, we had in the book of Genesis, Eve, by her disobedience, brought death on herself and on all the human race. Mary, by her obedience, brought salvation. Do you know what I mean? So this myth of the fall, this big myth of Eve tempting the man, the poor little man who couldn't decide anything for himself, was tempted by this Eve, who actually they took the goddess mythology, they took the beautiful tree of life, and they took the snake, which wasn't a bad symbolism in shamanic era. It was about death, birth, the snake eating its own tail. It was about the cyclical nature of life. And they took those and they made it into an awful myth where like this terrible woman took this poor, innocent young man who didn't know of a thing and destroyed everything. And she's a temptress and she's this and she's that and women can't be trusted and all that kind of crap. And there's just such heartbreaking stuff written about women by men, by people who were St. Augustine and people who were supposed to be saints, and men who were like supposed to be these great thinkers saying awful things about women. Listen to this, right? Women, sordid, fallen, besmirch purity, mediates impiety, corrupts life. Women is a wild beast. Yes, we are. Her crimes are like the sand. Women is a guilty thing, a hopeless fleshy thing, nothing but flesh, vigorous to destroy, born to deceive and taught to deceive. The last pitfall, worst of vipers, beautiful rottenness. Wow. A slippery pathway, public doorway, sweet poison. Oh my God. I mean, I could go on. There's pages of this crap where these men are writing about women in this way. It's just so heartbreaking. And you can see it. You can see it in life. You can see it all around you all the time. I know for a fact that I have definitely had men stand in my way, especially when it comes to my my original music creations. It's men that are standing in my way. I know that for a fact. And why? Because they're afraid of women. And why are men afraid of women? Because women are amazing. Women are amazing creatures. Women are absolutely incredibly amazing. And you need creativity, and you need that kind of madness. And it was all about the development of the rational mind, and men are rational and women are completely irrational, and all this kind of left brain, like, no, we need to box it in and control it all and keep them where we can control them, and don't trust them, and make sure that they don't even trust themselves. And that is really true. Women and men, they say that men get further in business because men are more confident. Like, women are second guess themselves a lot, and that's because of these. I've read it. It's like men don't trust women and make sure that the women don't even trust themselves. So it's heartbreaking. I've gone over time. It's just heartbreaking, really, the whole thing. And then the last chapter is about the one-eyed vision and how we need to get back the shamanic vision, the trusting our intuition and trusting our creativity and trusting our femininity. This whole thing about the fall has really done a number on our collective psyche, we really need men to trust the femininity within themselves, because we're both feminine and we're both masculine, we're both light and we're both dark, and we can't completely deny one thing. We can't completely deny the darkness, because that's not what we're supposed to do. We're all light, we're all dark, we're all male, we're all female within, we have all these things within us. And we need men to get back into valuing and trusting their feminine side, but it's all been, you know, the hero and the conquest, and it's like the Klingons in Star Trek, honor, and all this kind of crap. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to say that it might be a while before I get these songs to you. It might be around Halloween time, because I am now in the throes of second year of my Masters in Consciousness, Spirituality and Transpersonal Psychology. Really, really interesting, learning all about transpersonal psychology and doing lots of assignments. So I don't have much time, because I'm also a full-time music therapist, working with vulnerable in the community where I live. And I hope to have at least 6 to 8 songs written before Christmas, and I'm hoping to have 2 songs ready for around Halloween. So thank you so much for watching, and if you can, do get the book. It's got it all in here. It's pretty heartbreaking, but it's definitely something that I have you know, I definitely know it's a thing. I mean, come on. Women have, it's been proven that they only play 5% of female Irish artists on the radio in Ireland. Do you know what I mean? 5%. I mean, come on. It's obvious that men get more breaks, especially in everything, but in music in this country, men get more breaks. And I definitely have experienced men standing in my way of different things. Definitely 100%. So I don't know how we're going to change it, but awareness is a good start. So do get the book, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.